Ebony Leary is the founder of My Sunset Doula, a business that educates and supports caregivers on everything that falls under that caregiving umbrella. She has a ton of both informative and entertaining content on her YouTube and TikTok channels, which I believe all caregivers should subscribe to and follow. I will put all the links in the show notes. I'm thrilled to have Ebony on the podcast today to take this complex topic of caregiving and hopefully make it feel a little less daunting, but also remind exhausted caregivers that they are not alone. Ebony, thank you so much for being on the podcast. I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
So let's just dive right in. So you are not self-described. On your website, you say that you're a death doula, advanced care planner, grief educator, and caregiver advocate.
Yeah.
That's a whole lot. Distill it down in layman's terms, what it is you do.
In layman's terms, I am a guide for people who are navigating end of life, either for themselves or for other people.
Okay. And when we hear end of life, we typically think elderly. Do you primarily work with seniors, or do you also work with families or younger individuals who may have, terminal illness?
Yes, anyone who is wanting to plan, needing a plan for themselves or other people, whether it's someone who's young, who's facing a terminal illness, or someone who is young, 65, and just wanting to plan the sunset stage that they want for their life. I have knowledge and resources since I've worked in the space my entire life. So I'm just positioning myself to be of service to people who are navigating that sunset stage.
Have you also been a caregiver?
My whole life.
You have.
My whole life. So I got my CNA when I was 16 and started working in nursing homes.
Wow.
Nursing homes, assisted living facilities, home health. I then went back to school and became a nurse, and I was a hospice nurse for several years.
Okay.
When I left nursing, I realized that was my passion and my purpose. I'm like, oh gosh, well, if I'm not going to be a nurse anymore, how am I going to help people at end of life? And
Yeah.
I went down the Google rabbit hole, and that's when I found Alula Arthur and the term death doula, and
Right.
started My Sunset Doula.
That's awesome. So how long has the company been around?
The company has been around since 2022.
Okay.
And it's evolved. When I first got my certification, I thought that I was going to be hearing from people who had just been diagnosed with a terminal illness, or people who were facing their own mortality. But that's not who started to call me. The people who called me were their kids who were watching their parents age, their kids who were navigating healthcare and hospice and looking for more support. And so My Sunset Doula evolved, and that's why I've got this long title, this wide umbrella with all of these things underneath it. I've been a caregiver. I've been a family caregiver. We took care of my grandfather at home who had Parkinson's for 4 years, took care of my grandmother who had Alzheimer's towards the end of her life. I've been a hospice nurse. I've been an insurance specialist trying to provide solutions for people, financial solutions towards end of life. So I've got all of this end of life planning experience.
So you mentioned the insurance specialist. So those videos on your YouTube I found to be incredibly educational, like the fact that there's money out there for family caregivers. And I know you had mentioned that landscape might be changing in 2026. Explain to listeners how, if you're caring for a family member in their home, how they can actually earn money for their time. I mean, time is money, I suppose.
Oh, absolutely. And all of the programs that I found, they're Medicaid programs. They're through Medicaid, so they're state specific. So each state has its own requirements and income caps and those sort of things. And it's not much. It's not a livable wage. The average is somewhere between $13 and $15 an hour, depending on where you are in the country. but
Mhm.
it's something as
Mhm.
opposed to nothing when a
Right.
lot of family caregivers are having to sacrifice their their careers and
Right.
ending up in really bad financial situations because their loved one needs full-time care.
Well, and even if they don't need the income, they could put the money towards, supplies or, something to, just a feel good product for their loved one or themselves, I mean, yeah.
Absolutely.
So you talk on your site about a good death. Describe
Mhm.
what a good death looks like. I mean, it probably looks different for everybody, but generally speaking.
Right. It's a concept. Yeah, so
Hmm.
it is different for everyone. It is influenced by our own personal religious or spiritual beliefs or what we really want medically towards the end of life. But basically I've summed it up into 7 parts that we look at to make sure that people are in alignment with a good death. That's pain management, um, spiritual peace, uh, emotional comfort. There is the planning aspect of it,
Hmm.
dignity, and acceptance.
Okay.
And I think am I missing one? I always miss one when I go through them. But those are the components of what I look for when I am consulting with people. Where can I be of help to them? A
Hmm.
lot of people who contact me are really just looking for someone to tell them that they're doing okay, that they're
Okay.
not alone, that they haven't forgotten anything, that they're doing the right thing. Because there's so much doubt, especially if you're not someone who's in the medical field and aren't really comfortable around the end of life stuff as
Hmm.
just a daughter
Right.
navigating some of those questions that you get asked, having to make decisions for someone that you love who can't speak for themselves, especially if there hasn't been a plan.
Yeah.
Um, so we're able to go through some of those things. Okay, is their pain under control? Okay, do you have a support system around you? Like, who can you call when you need a break?
Yeah.
What other things can we put into place to help support you? Um, is there a plan? Do we know what's happening at the end of life? Like those are some of the practical things that I can talk through with people and that I can help them set up to where when we are having the worst days of our lives, we don't have to make a whole bunch of decisions.
Yeah. It's already mapped out. So I
Yeah.
know you're based in Texas. Do you work just in person or do you work virtually as well?
I do a lot of virtual consultations
Okay.
all over, and
Okay.
then I do some one-on-one in person. I take clients here in Houston as well.
Okay. I saw on your site that you offer the consultations. Do you find that people come to you kind of at the start of their caregiving journey, or do you get some kind of like 911, like all hell's breaking loose and I need some help navigating kind of
Those are the
calls?
calls. Those are
Those are the
when people call me. Yeah,
okay.
and I
Okay.
think it's just because of a lack of awareness, right? Death doula is a relatively new term.
Mhm.
A lot of
Mhm.
people don't know what it is, don't know how we can help.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, I don't get the calls when I would really like them. I would really like it if people would call me when they get that phone call in the middle of the night and their parents fallen,
Mm.
or they just realize that we need some help monitoring these medications. Like, I didn't know that this was an issue. This is becoming an issue.
Yeah.
Or when they go and visit and they notice the dishes are piled up, the laundry hasn't been done. There's a
Yeah.
whole bunch of mail that's unopened. Like, we're
Yeah.
just starting to, okay, where do we start? That's when I can be most helpful. And I have had several clients that I've been able to walk through from that point and help them
Mhm.
navigate from setting up senior care in the home. And then they call me back when they want to look at facility placement. And then everything kind of plateaus for a while. And then they call me back when the patient's starting to decline. And then they
Mhm.
call me back when they're starting to think about hospice. and then I'm able to help them through end of life and navigating the anticipatory grief and the grief that comes afterwards when
Yeah.
the person is gone. So that's my favorite thing to do, because then I really get a sense of who the people are in that
Mhm.
family, what they really need from me, and can
Yeah.
really show up for them. Whereas most of the time, 90% of the time, people call me and I might not even get a chance to lay eyes on their loved one because it's so last minute.
Yeah.
Or we'll have something set up for a couple days later and they call me and they're like, hospice is here. They're saying it's imminent. The kids are here. There's two 13-year-olds and like, what do we say?
Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
able to help in that space too. So it's really individualized to what the family is needing. And we
Yeah.
never know until we're in it.
So that kind of segues into a question that I am curious about. How it's kind of the one that everybody dreads. Like if your family loved one, you get the sense that they're no longer safe at home. How do you broach that topic of, it might be time to go to an assisted living facility without making them feel betrayed or them to shut down or put up a wall? What does that conversation look like in a fruitful and hopefully positive outcome way?
Mm. Um, I like to think of it as a series of conversations. So it's more just like opening the dialogue, right? Especially when it's your people. It's much easier for someone like me to come in and be like, okay, we want to advocate for you.
Yeah.
What can we do so that you can have the best sunset stage of your life? What does that look like for you? It's so much easier for me to come in and do that as opposed to me talking to my grandmother,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So when I had to go and talk to my grandmother about her needing some help, it
Hmm.
was, she knows what I do. Um, and she was a psychologist who specialized in aging. So like she knows all of the things, a major
Yeah.
control freak.
Yeah.
Um, so it was okay, in the event that you can't speak for yourself and I have to talk for you, like I just want to be prepared. I want to be prepared and I want to make sure that you get what you want. And it was a series of conversation. And even with me, there was a lot of resistance from
Yeah.
my grandma. And I
Yeah.
I think it's normal. I'm pretty sure that I'll respond in the same way. If I have to
Yeah.
give up my independence, I'm not going to give it up easily. Like I'm gonna go kicking and screaming.
Yeah.
And it was that you kind of have to open up the lane for the conversation to let
Okay.
them know that when they're ready, you'll be there. And then sometimes with some people, like my type A grandmother, you kind of have to take your hands off and wait until the needs arise, which can be really hard to do. But you
Yeah.
can't force people into accepting things that they're not ready for. And as long as she's able to make her own decisions, I just support her. Now,
What are some of those needs when you say wait for the needs to
mm,
arise? Like what are there red flags or
oh,
should people be looking for? I mean, I've
yeah,
not walked down this path yet, but so I'm coming in blind. What does that look like?
changes in, okay, so there's two types, right? There's two things we're
Mhm.
looking for. We're looking for cognitive decline and we're
Okay.
looking for physical decline.
Okay.
So physically, how are they moving around?
Shh.
Are they,
Sorry.
oh, no problem, no problem. Love the puppy. Are they like grabbing onto furniture? Are they having frequent falls? Are they shuffling their feet? Um, if so, what can we do that doesn't require them to sign over their rights? Can we clean up the house? Can we reduce the trip hazards? Can we get rid of the big fluffy rugs? Can we make sure that those long extension cords that she's been using forever are up and taped to a wall
Yeah.
somewhere?
Yeah.
Something like that. Now, cognitive declines. Are they repeating things? Are they forgetting things?
Okay.
Are they taking their medication? Are they making their doctor's appointments? Stuff like that are usually the first red flags, if
Okay.
not strongly pink
Yeah.
flags.
Okay. Um, you have on your site, and again, I'm going to put these in the show notes. You've got, I thought Hospital Ready is an amazing resource. And then, but Family Caregiving 101. So for somebody, which is a book you've written, available as an actual book or an ebook, for somebody who is just beginning their work as a caregiver, what is the single most important thing that they need to know from the Giddy Up?
From the giddy up is that you're not alone,
Okay.
that there are so many people who have come before you
Mhm.
that have already probably asked the questions. There are resources, there are answers. You don't have to do it alone.
Okay.
That's
And you
number one.
provide so many of those resources, which is amazing.
Sure.
Also, you've said that end of life discussions actually lower healthcare costs and increase patient satisfaction. Connect those dots for us.
Oh my goodness. So when people are facing their own mortality,
Hmm.
right? There is a lot of fear that comes up. Even people who have been really religious or really connected and whatever spiritual beliefs that they have, um, all the questions come up like, am I am I really right? Because we don't know,
Right.
right? Um, but what I found by having these conversations, by sitting bedside, and a lot of people will have those conversations with someone who's impartial, like myself, um, or a hospice nurse, or someone that they don't have to worry about scaring or
Hmm.
or hurting their feelings or saying the really hard things or expressing their fear because they're trying to protect everyone that is afraid around them, right? Who's
Right.
watching them go through this thing.
Right.
But I saw that through these discussions that people were able to achieve a level of acceptance. Sometimes that was even baffling to me, that just the surrender, this knowing it. And I don't really know how to describe it because I haven't been there myself. And it
Right.
seems like death is a very singular vantage point from everything else that we have in this human experience. It changes people. It
Yeah.
it 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 makes them confront all of their fears. It forces them into this life review where they have this new perspective of everything that they've been through and all of the lives that they've affected. And it changes people.
Hmm.
And it does. You can tell at the end there are only two types of people. It doesn't matter where you come from, it doesn't matter your race or your socioeconomic background. None of that matters. There's only two types of people: it's people who have peace and people who don't. And
Yeah.
people who do not have peace have harder end of life experiences
Really.
physically.
Really.
Mm.
And describe that. Like in what way?
Mm. Because death, not a sudden death, but a death in when someone is dying,
Yeah.
not from something sudden, but from a progressive process, right? It
Right.
looks like different stages of sleep. It's just people going into and out of sleep and then starting to sleep more and more and awake less and less.
Okay.
Um, and that's part of the reason why we took the word doula from birth doulas is because it looks like a labor, the body systematically shutting down. And when people are afraid, they tighten up. They tighten up, they resist, and it causes more pain. When people have reached that level of acceptance, they
Yeah.
relax, they
Interesting.
surrender. Sometimes all they need, and I've seen this happen several times, and it always gives, I'm getting goosebumps right now. But sometimes all they need is permission to let go.
Yeah.
And that next breath, as soon as they get permission, as soon as they relax, that next breath, and they're gone.
Mm.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Aside from the obvious mistake of not doing any planning at all, what is the most common pitfall or mistake you see families make in end of life planning?
Um, waiting too long,
Okay.
waiting too long to plan, um, assuming that someone else will do it or that something
Yeah.
else is being done.
Yeah.
Um, those are the pitfalls because the longer you wait, the less options you have,
Hmm.
right? Most
Yep.
Americans can't afford a surprise bill. They can't
Right.
afford a car breaking down. So when someone is suddenly hit with something, right? This isn't someone, I'm thinking of someone who's probably not at a stage where we would expect them to start declining, however hard that is. I'm thinking
Yeah.
of someone who's like my age, right? Who goes
Okay.
in for something and all of a sudden something bad happens and now there's no plan and nobody knows what I want or what to do.
Yeah.
Um, those were the hardest days in hospice when the family's blindsided, when it
Yeah.
comes out of the blue. Um, so there's not, other than failing to plan and waiting too long to plan, there's really not, um, I can't really think of another singular thing that's really negative because as soon as as long as you're proactively thinking of planning,
Hmm.
the plan can always be changed. It can always be, you can always pivot, but at least you have some options. At least you've had some conversation. At least you have a direction in where you want to land, right? You have an idea of what this person wants, so you have a roadmap at
Hmm.
least. Whereas most people are just guessing
Yeah. So,
what
and
people want.
what is the actual plan like? Is it like a binder with handwritten notes of I want this, I don't want that? I mean, or is there like a digital version, or is that what I mean? What's as somebody who has worked with families, what's the most useful thing a family can produce and provide to hospital staff or whatever that they can then take and be like, okay, it's all right here. What does that look like?
Absolutely. A medical power of attorney,
Okay.
a durable or financial power of attorney,
Okay.
a
I'm
last
taking
will
notes.
and testament, absolutely,
Okay.
a last will and testament, and a living will. A living
Okay.
will or an advance directive. That's the document that tells people what medical interventions you want and
Okay.
what medical interventions you don't want.
Okay. And that sounds like it would be the most useful thing, especially in like a hospital or you know,
Mhm.
kind of abrupt scenario somebody might find themselves in. Okay.
Yeah.
So, and then like you get all these things written up, and then do you provide them to like every member of your family or just to the person who's got the power of attorney? Or, I mean,
Yeah, I all of my documents are done. My mother
mhm.
has all of them. She's my power of attorney.
Okay.
My grandmother finally signed her documents, and I have some. My mom has some. My cousin is her financial power of attorney. We all have them.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, and anyone who's going to need it
Okay.
should have it.
Okay.
Mhm.
Awesome. So I've got two last questions. Since you've been doing this work, which holy cow, 16 years old, that's amazing.
Mhm.
What has been the single most impactful or transformative or memorable experience, good, bad, or otherwise, that you've had since you've started doing this work?
Um, there have been a lot. There have been a lot, but the first death I witnessed was the one that changed me the most.
Okay.
Um,
Describe that.
I had just turned 17. I had been at my first nursing home for a very brief period of time. And there was this little firecracker who, oh, she cursed like a sailor and she was just skin and bones. And she commented on my chest and how flat chested I was at the time. I just fell in love with her instantly. Um, she was contracted. So her arms and her legs were like this all of the time. And she was on around the clock pain medication.
Yeah.
And we would have to do range of motion on her where we would have to, and she hated it and I hated it. And it just felt like it was just too little too late.
Yeah.
Um, but when she was dying, the day before she died, every muscle in her body relaxed, every
Wow.
single one. And there was this peace that came over her face. She wasn't talking anymore. She wasn't waking up, but
Yeah.
her whole body relaxed. And it was in that moment when I walked in and I just realized that, oh, like this is a blessing. Like
Yeah.
this is her freedom. Like
Yeah.
she gets to be free from this
Yeah.
body that's been torturing her for years. And that changed the way that I look and feel about death. From that moment on, it was the thing that led me down the path of ending up in hospice and becoming a death doula and having the view that I have of death, of it just being a door. And sometimes, there are a lot of times that families are so well-meaning and they're so scared. And I know it comes from a place of love, and they'll just say, do whatever you can. Do
Mm-hmm.
whatever you can, even when the whatever you can, the holding on is hurting someone,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And it gave me the vantage point to know that I mean, eventually we all have to let go.
Yeah.
There's only one way out of here,
Yeah.
and we all have to do it.
Yeah.
Um, and it's okay. And sometimes, as harsh as it sounds to people who are grieving and in pain, there are things that are worse than death.
Which leads me to my final question. Are you, and I think I know the answer, but are you afraid to die? Why or why not?
No, no, I'm not afraid to die. Um, I don't like thinking about people that I love dying. I don't like that.
Yeah.
But I'm not afraid to die because I don't believe that it's the end.
Yeah.
I don't. All of the people that have seen relatives who've come to visit him, the visions are my favorite thing.
Yeah.
Or the people who would tell me, I'm not going to be here for Easter. I'm like, what do you want to have for Easter meal? And I won't be here. And they're right. Or my
Yeah.
husband's coming to get me on Sunday and they go to sleep Sunday morning and they never wake up. Or
Wow.
so many things that could only be explained by a God of some sort and of an afterlife that makes this human experience a flash in the pan of what we really are.
That's amazing. It is comforting to think like that. 100%.
It is. It
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. Well, Ebony, thank you so much for sharing your time and experience and expertise with us. It's been a real pleasure. And listeners, look for links to all of Ebony's resources and socials in the show notes. Ebony Leary of My Sunset Doula, thank you. It has been such a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Ashley.
If you like this episode of Dying to Know More, be sure to give it a like and don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another episode.